Good afternoon. It's 2:00 and the code board for the city of Tarpon Springs is now in session. Bobby, would you call roll, please?
Ms. Wade,
I'm here.
Mr. Pridio,
Here.
Mr. Weeks,
Here.
Mrs. Telliar. Here. Mrs. Archer. Here. Dr. Makaya. Mr. Opel.
Here.
That completes your roll call.
If everybody would stand, we'll have a blessing and we'll have a pledge of allegiance. Our Heavenly Father, we seek blessings on the task before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We pray that our work this afternoon will find favor in your sight. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon. It's the intention of this board to promote, protect, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Tarpon Springs by providing an equitable, effective, and inexpensive method of enforcing various codes within the city of Tarpon Springs. Any aggrieved party may appeal a final administrative order of this board to the circuit court. Such appeal shall be filed within 30 days of the execution of the order to be appealed. Florida Statute 286.0105 requires any party appealing a decision of this board to have a record of the proceedings to support such an appeal. The procedure of this board is as follows. First, the city presents its witnesses and exhibits, after which the alleged violator is able to ask the city witnesses any specific questions regarding their testimony. Secondly, the alleged violator is allowed to make a presentation and present his or her witnesses and exhibits. Then the city can ask questions of the alleged violator's witnesses. After both rounds of testimony, both on the part of the city and the part of the alleged violator, each party is asked to give a closing argument, first by the city and then by the alleged violator. After those three steps are taken, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case to discuss it and take appropriate action. Before we begin the public hearings, we will have all potential witnesses sworn in, and they have to stand and be sworn in by the secretary of the board. And also want to remind you to turn off your cell phones. So if you're going to speak today, please stand and Bobby will swear you in. Thank you.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Be seated.
First item on the agenda today, case number 24-8000138. Anthony Martiri, and the Family Trust, 2102 Pelican Court in Tarpon Springs. And the city will begin.
Thank you. My name is Mike Rolliston. I'm the Code Enforcement Officer for the Tarpon Springs Police Department. This is not a homesteaded property. On June 18th, I received a call from one of the building inspectors about the property located at 2102 Pelican Court, and he reported that there was several unpermitted works going on the property. These included covered floor vents, a new tankless water heater, new bathroom, new kitchen below the floodplain. And he sent me several pictures, which are, you'll excuse me, I got to go to the end of this because they are in the email portion. Just his pictures of work going on the property.
No.
And sir, if you don't have any objections, I'm going to submit this to the board.
Thank you.
The rest of our exhibits are our affidavits of posting, notices, tax appraiser, and notice of violations, which are in the originals as well as up here. Deputy Building Official Keith Mead is here as well to answer any questions that you may have regarding scope of work and what needs to be done. But what we're asking for compliance at this point is for all of the appropriate permits to be secured and the work inspected and finalized. And Keith can come up if he has anything he'd like to say to the board, or if you have any questions for either of us.
Good afternoon, Keith Mead, Deputy Building Official, City of Tarpon Springs. I have been to this property. I've actually met the owner of this property on site, and we did a walkthrough together to get an idea of what the scope of work was and how much unpermitted work was done. He was very cooperative, and he has submitted plans for this to get a permit for the unpermitted work. So we received that last Friday. It has not been reviewed yet, so obviously it's not been issued, but he has made application.
How long before you think a permit could be obtained?
If all the documents, the required documents for the application are submitted, I would say probably about 2 to 3 weeks before the permit is issued.
Okay.
And is there anyone here for that case?
Yes, the gentleman's. The owner.
Would you like to step to the microphone, sir? Thank you. Identify who you are for
I'm
us.
Tony Martiri. I'm the owner of 2102 Pelican.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for the city?
No.
Would you like to make a case of your own?
I just wish I was a little more educated, to some of the things that I thought were not necessary, but they were very nice, came in and easy solutions.
Thank you.
You heard from the city that they talked about 3 weeks to get through all your permits. Do you believe that's sufficient time, or do you need additional time?
Well, the main things were done. So we had a new roof put in, with permits. Windows are now, in, so we don't have any problem with rain. The issues, we're talking about, we bought the home maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And so some of these issues, like the vents and some of those things were there. So we'll correct them and, do whatever we have to do. So as soon as we get it, the contractor's been alerted. In fact, we sent in the application today, I believe, or yesterday.
Friday, we
Was
received
it?
the
You got
application.
that?
Friday,
Okay.
yes, sir.
And so he's ready to jump on it.
So you can do it relatively quickly once you get the permits.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the materials, that are required and so forth.
I will say this, the majority of the work, I would say at least 99% of the work is already done. So it's an after-the-fact permit. So once he gets the permit, it's just a matter of us doing our inspections and closing out the permit, so.
And you understand that work can't be, while you've got the red tag, you've got to hold.
Correct. Yeah, we've not done anything.
Anybody else have a question for him?
I have a question. Does any of that work that needs to be permitted behind and need to be exposed again?
Yes, there are some areas that are going to have to be exposed, and we discussed that as well.
Is he aware that takes time?
Yes, he's aware.
The only, Keith, I'm not sure, it just, the window is one where they have to.
Well,
remove the silicone.
we had an issue with, because the window installer installed all new windows and doors throughout. They pulled a permit. That's how we stumbled across all the unpermitted work while we were doing our inspection on the windows. There was an issue, one of the pictures the window installer sent us was that the Tyvek, the house wrap all around the building, was installed incorrectly. It was lapped improperly, and we saw that in the picture. Now it's covered up with stucco.
Got to take
Okay.
it back out.
So we made him aware that we're going to have to cut some areas of stucco, remove it so that we can see what's underneath it. He's aware we had that discussion.
And this should reassure you that you're going to have a decent project too, that the city is watching
Yes,
for you.
correct. Oh, yeah, yes. No, we generally do everything proper. In fact, we like to go above board, try to make it better. So we appreciate his help.
So compliance on your part, what you would consider compliance, is all of the work being done and permitted to the end, or closing out the permit based on what he submitted now?
Closing out the permit based on what he's submitting we would consider that compliant.
All right, and so that's not that as long a period of time as doing all the other things?
Correct.
I don't know the timeline, for putting in all new vents, because that's a pretty big job. I mean,
And when he's speaking of vents, he's referring to flood vents because the home is located in a flood zone. And apparently somebody along the lines covered up all the flood vents on the exterior walls. So those are going to have to be either reopened or install new flood vents.
None of which is relevant for what we're addressing, because we're addressing that there was no permit pulled. And then it'll be in your ballpark till,
That would be part of the application he's making now for the permit to install the flood vents.
very good.
yeah, and Keith, if we could just work together on the flood vents, just so I'm clear on some of that would be great.
Sure.
Would you also say that like 45 days or 60 days would be
From today or from when he receives the permit?
From today.
from today?
From today, I would say 60 to 90 days would be appropriate because like I said, everything except for the flood vents, the majority of the work is already done. So it's just a matter of exposing some of the covered up work and then putting it back. Nothing major.
Okay, thank you.
Guidance, we need to find him in violation, but he's already complied by applying for his permits.
And there's a recommended motion in your packet.
He's not in compliance so they just have to pick a date. Exactly, just pick a date. I got to give them 90 days to be 100% compliant. That should be plenty of time. Got some flood vents in and exposing some of the work that was covered up.
It's under tab 1.
But compliance has been achieved.
No, he hasn't
He's got
achieved
his-
compliance yet. That's why the motion is the way it is. He's going to get compliance once he gets that permit and finishes everything up with building, but he's not in compliance at this time, no.
Okay, he's applied for the permit, but it hasn't
He
gone.
hasn't received it, so he's not in compliance as of this
I'm
moment.
sorry, I sort of got confused.
And so all we really need to do is set a timeline for him
Yeah,
to get the permit.
And complete everything, yeah. That's why Keith
Right,
was saying
that's why
60 to 90 days.
Yeah, 60 to 90 days may be appropriate since he has to do all the vents.
Okay.
He's got to take sheet rock out for them
Got
to
it.
look behind.
Right.
Got it.
Motion? Okay. I move in case number 24-800000138 to find the respondent Anthony Martiri and Martiri Family Trust in violation of the City Code of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances 212 and 105.1 of the Florida Building Code for the property located at 2102 Pelican Court, and to assess a fine of $75 per day beginning on 4 November until compliance is achieved, and to order the respondent to contact Code Enforcement Division to arrange for reinspection of the property to verify compliance with the board's order.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Bobby.
Mr. Ogle?
Yes.
Mrs. Archer?
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Fudio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes,
Your motion carries.
Thank you for coming. And I hope everybody that's watching understands this is exactly what the code board is here to do, to protect you, to make sure that the code is followed. And we appreciate your cooperation in that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And please work with the city. You have currently until November 4th, but as long as you're working with them, they'll make sure that they'll keep you apprised of what's going on.
Yeah, as soon as we get the permit, in fact, Keith, we could talk about that. Okay.
And you understand, we don't need to summarize this for you. You
Right.
understand?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
The next case is case 2 in your books, 24-8000144, Richard Roosh, 2047 North Point Alexis Drive. Is anyone here for that case? Sir, I don't believe you were sworn in, so you can come on down, but Bobby will need to swear you in before we start. Thank you for coming.
Will you raise your right hand, sir? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth, and that's but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
The city will present its case, and then you'll have time to ask questions and present your side. Go ahead. Thank you.
Again, my name is Mike Rolliston. I'm the Code Enforcement Officer for the Tarpon Springs Police Department. And this is in reference to 2047 North Point Alexis Drive, and it is not a homesteaded property. On June 25th, I observed work being done on the property, and I called Deputy Building Official Keith Mead to come out and walk the property, and he observed a number of violations, multitude of unpermitted work. And as we go through these photos, I'd actually like to have Keith explain some of it as we go through, just because there was so much, and some of it was out of my wheelhouse as to what was and was not a problem. So, sir, do you have any objection to us submitting our evidence?
Absolutely not.
So Exhibit A is going to be our photos, and I'm just going to kind of slowly scroll through them, and Keith can kind of give you anything he feels is pertinent to it.
No, the architect and Anthony.
Oh,
we spoke.
okay. And I just want to preface all these photos with, just be aware that this property is not only a flood zone, it's a coastal A flood zone, which the requirements are ramped up quite a bit in regards to the flood regulations in that zone. And on this picture, the pool was existing, but they added the spa and that pool shelf you see at the top left of the picture, that was added without a permit. And that's the first level.
Which is ground level,
No, that's the first living level, but you can see
elevated.
that portion is elevated, correct. That's the old kitchen. You can see the old vent pipe coming down for the kitchen hood exhaust. 2 new exhaust vents on the outside of the house. New wiring throughout. There's new electrical work throughout. And same thing there, new electrical, and all that electrical that you see towards, that's ground level right there.
Yeah.
All the electrical work that's down near the ground is not allowed because it's below the base flood elevation. And these are mainly just pictures of all the new electrical work that's been done. And this is a picture, it appears they're putting, this is ground level, and it appears they're putting in a bathroom, which is not allowed below the base flood elevation. And another vent for, it's a mechanical exhaust vent. I'm not sure what it goes to. I didn't get inside. All these are from the exterior of the structure. So they've obviously added quite a bit of stuff downstairs at grade level, which is not allowed. And also, in a coastal A zone, you're required to have breakaway walls for anything below the base flood. There are no breakaway walls on this structure. Everything's been stuccoed.
We have made contact with the owner, and yesterday I spoke with the owner and this gentleman who is his engineer architect. The owner authorized him to be here today to kind of explain their plan going forward. He's also been in contact with Keith and he's going to present that all to you here. But the owner, since making contact, has been cooperative and is working with us at this point. So that concludes my presentation at this time.
And I should have had you identify yourself, sir. I'm sorry. I just made the assumption that you were Richard. Could you tell us your name, please?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Anthony Mello. I'm with the group of Mello Group of Planning. We're an architectural and engineering firm out of Sarasota.
You're, does he have to have any permission from the owner?
We already verified.
Do you have any questions for the city?
No, what I'd like to do is, or-
Then you get to make your presentation.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I apologize for being a little tardy. I was coming from Sarasota. It's a little bit distance. July 2nd, we were contracted by Mr. Ruch, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, to go in there and.
Will you speak right into the microphone? Thank you. You're a
Sorry.
big guy. It's not set up for you.
Okay. July 2nd, we were contracted by the homeowner to come in and prepare some documents, construction documents, in order for them to obtain a building permit. I walked the property and I saw there was a lot of things that just were not supposed to be where they were. One of the first evidence, he has timbers. When you have timbers, that usually means it's a still house and nothing on the bottom can be covered up, other than, like Mr. Keith said, breakaway walls. It seems to me that the owners purchased this property from wherever. The previous owner had started doing some work. They had it all closed up. They didn't follow the guidelines. And unfortunately, the new owner has inherited all these problems. One of the things that we have to do is create breakaway walls at the flow vents, and everything has to be above the base flood elevation, plus whatever the freeboard is, which I believe it's 1 foot above the freeboard. 1 foot above BFE, sorry. So it's taken us a couple of weeks to prepare the construction documents. I have them right here. I'm getting ready to submit these on Monday electronically so they can obtain a building permit. All the items that were addressed are in the plans. We're going to give this to the homeowner. He's going to give it to his contractor. Actually, the contractor and I have been speaking as well. So Monday, they're going to submit these in to get their building permit. I don't know what the timeline is here in this municipality, but usually it's anywhere from like 7 to 15 days to obtain a building permit. I'm thinking. So once they have the building permit, they have to go in there and do a lot of work. They have to basically apply for a demo permit because they have to take those walls off, either leave them exposed, but they're going to actually do breakaway walls. The other thing is all the plumbing that they have in there for bathrooms are not going to happen. So I already warned them about that. All the electrical, again, has to be above the base flood elevation. So unfortunately, there's a case where someone bought the property, they didn't know what they were buying, and we're here to help them clean up the mess. That's my presentation. And I have spoken to both gentlemen, letting them know I was ill for a week myself, so that's kind of fell back behind the ball. But we're ready to move forward here.
So you're planning on getting permits and going ahead with this project?
We prepared the plans. Now we're going to give them to the contractor on Monday so he can submit it and get the plan, get the permits. Once he gets the permits, he can start doing whatever demo work and additional work that has to be done to bring the property up to compliance.
Which, and this is going to be a pretty significant project, so I would keep that in the back of your minds when you're thinking about timelines.
I would say, just, you gentlemen have seen the property. From the time that they get the property, the permit, I'd say about 4 months. There's a lot there. So that's my observation.
September, October, November, December. Questions?
It is a 8,000 square foot home.
Wow.
Yes. The first floor,
Yeah.
the base floor is 3,500 square feet. The living at the second level is 3,400 square feet. Total on the roof is 8,300 square feet. So it's a big undergoing.
I have a question. For submitting this permit based on what's going on, is this going to have to go through technical review and planning and zoning? It'll just go straight to building?
No, it's an existing structure, so it would be considered a remodel. So it wouldn't have to go through TRC or planning and zoning unless they were expanding the footprint of the structure or whatnot, but they're not doing that, so.
No, we're not. Just staying
And they're-
within the envelope.
There were a couple of permits, they have new doors and windows, and they did obtain a permit for that. Initially, they got a permit for stucco repair for the front of the house because it was damaged when they purchased it. They went way beyond just stucco repair to the house, and unfortunately, they didn't have any inspections done on that permit, and the finished stucco is done. So that's going to create an issue as far as missed inspections for that permit, which would be separate from the inside and the downstairs work that needs to be done.
So a warning to anybody that's thinking of remodeling that it's better if you follow the steps.
Most definitely.
Be informed.
Is compliance, the project completed all the way to the end? Is that what compliance looks like?
For this one, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So is 4 months really, or 5 months really realistic?
I don't think that's long enough.
Yeah, that's wishful thinking, I
I
believe, on a
would say that's
property. on a-
aspirational.
Yes, because they've already done a lot of work, which they're going to have to undo
Yeah.
and then go back to the drawing board. So I would say conservatively 5 to 6 months if
Yeah.
everything comes together when it's supposed
Everything
to.
works according.
Correct,
And
correct.
and weather permitting too.
Weather permitting as well.
Oh,
You could give them a time period, and then we could have the city advise us if they're running into a problem.
Right.
To bring it back and ask for that extension if necessary,
okay.
as long as they're working with the city.
And that gives you a little better feeling than waiting 6 months to hear back on some of this.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can think about that when you make your motion.
Mhm.
Okay, I move in case number 24-800000144 to find the respondent Richard Rutch in violation of the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances 212 and 105.1 of the Florida Building Code for the property located at 2047 North Point Alexis Drive, and to assess a fine of $75 per day beginning on 10 December until compliance is achieved, and to order respondent to contact the Code Enforcement Division to arrange for reinspection of the property to verify compliance with the board's order.
Second.
Of December 2024.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Only 4 months.
And it's been seconded, and you agree with 2024. Bobby, if you'll call roll, please.
Mr. Ogle?
Yes.
Mrs. Archer?
Yes.
Ms. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Fidio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Please roll call.
Now, let's explain it to make sure.
Right. You now have until December 10th to come into compliance. Please work with the city.
Absolutely.
We'll be notified by the city if everything's going forward and there's just a delay, then they'll come back here and inform the board so the board can extend the time.
Understand. I've been in touch with Keith, and the moment we obtain the building permit, I'll let him know that.
Perfect.
So he can see what's going on in case we need additional time, again, because for uncertainties. we'll
Right,
address
because
that.
the board will ask, have they been in touch? What have
Absolutely.
Right, so that's helpful in extending those things.
Understand.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much,
I
everyone.
look forward to getting this fixed up.
Thank you. Gentlemen, thank you.
Next case, case 3 in your books, 24-800000148, Mantex Partners Limited, 539 Grand Boulevard. And someone's here for that case. Would you identify yourself for us?
Hi, I'm
please?
Ediberto Lera.
Say the name again.
Ediberto Lera.
Eddie?
Eddie's fine.
Thank you. Unless you have the city's going to present its case and its evidence.
Do you have any objections to us submitting our evidence?
Absolutely not.
All right. So this case is, actually has changed a little bit just here today as I conferred with Attorney Salzman and got a chance to inspect the property again. But the background of this situation is on June 26th, the police department received several calls for service at the property from multiple people. Some people saying they were tenants, others claiming to be owners, about electricity being cut, and it was kind of a mess. And then we were told there was concern of fires and everything else. So myself, Corporal Boone, and Deputy Fire Chief Miser all went out on site. We were then met by Deputy Building Official Keith Mead, where we discovered that the structure was being powered via a T-pole, which was not permitted or authorized to be there. So a stop work order was placed and an order was put to Duke to roll power back from the house. There was at the time a dispute. The tenants weren't wanting to leave, so the violation was that there was power to the structure no power to the structure with people living in it. Just recently, we finally confirmed that the tenants are out. So there is nobody in the property, so it's now vacant, which puts them in compliance because the power has been rolled away. So there's no power to the structure, but there's also nobody living in it. So they were in violation, but they have since come into compliance. But there's probably going to be, I'm sure, Eddie's going to want more work done on the property. So you're going to want to communicate with us in the future for permitting. But for this case in particular, they were in violation, but they have since come into compliance with regards to there being no power to the structure and people living in it. So the recommended motion in your book is not accurate to what we're asking for. I would ask that they were in violation, but have since come into compliance with the code.
And the violation is related to the power pole, not the occupancy?
The violation was that there were people occupying the structure with no electricity supplied to it because we removed power from the structure. Now that those people are out, if he wants to get electrical, he'll have to secure a permit for that. But right now, it's just a vacant structure with nobody in it, so he's not required to, get power to it right this instant if he doesn't want to.
So essentially, there's no case, is that what you're saying?
No, we still want to find them in violation but complied
Right.
That they've come into
in case it
compliance.
comes
In
back
case it comes
before us.
back,
Right.
yeah.
So it's just establishing, right, a prior violation.
Shouldn't have said that without you, but I think that's what.
No, you're 100% right.
So we're going to need two motions, one to find them in violation and one to find them complied, or we can do it as the double.
You could do it as
I
one.
would think you'd do it as one motion. And did you have any questions for me, sir?
Yeah, I would like to state my side of the case.
No, that's repeat violation.
He would like to.
And this is separate from the other one.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
whole nother.
absolutely, yeah.
Is he going to talk about three?
And I should let him talk.
Yeah, he has two cases here. This one, and then we have another case, so.
Did you have anything you wanted to say for that first case?
Yes.
Thank you, your turn.
Good afternoon. My name is Eddie Lara. I represent Mantex
Right into the
Partners, LLC.
microphone, we're old.
I represent Mantex Partners LLC. So going back to the beginning so that we're on the same page, at 539 Grand Boulevard, a temp pole was put in place through Duke with a permit obtained in Tarpon Springs.
So we kind of dispute that.
That is not accurate. A permit was applied for. It was never issued. So I talked to Duke Energy and tried to understand how they got a meter put in a T-pole without a permit. The representative from Duke explained something along the lines of, because there are no meters on the structure itself. There were 2 meter cans side by side on the structure. This is a T-pole sitting in front of the house. They explained it because the structure used to have, was energized, and he explained to me that somebody called in and said it was an emergency meter set. So they put it in the T-pole without a permit. That permit was never issued. It was applied for, but never issued.
Okay, so I didn't know that, and I had the permit given to me, so how was it not issued?
Was it given to you, or did you print it out?
No, came into the office myself, got it handed to me.
Do you have a
directly.
copy of that to present to us?
I gotta go all through my paperwork, but I have it. And Duke came out and put it on. I had,
Even if it was issued, there were no inspections performed on that permit?
correct, that is correct, very true, because the electrician and the company that I hired, the electrician died. So all the house was wired, and then the electrician died, and I had a hard time getting in contact with him. And then my wife had 2 heart attacks, so 6 months went by, we didn't even focus on the property. So that's exactly why electrical work was done on the house, and that's how we got the temp pole from Duke. I came right here directly myself, got the permit, picked it up myself. Nick Formica was the contractor, and he passed away.
Okay, because according to our records, all that was unpermitted work because the permit was never issued, according to our records.
No, that is incorrect, and I will find the paperwork and we can reset another date. There's no possible way that Duke would come out and hook up a temp pole. No one called in. I wouldn't call in. I'm the project manager on the case.
Is it possible those tenants called in?
No, no, not on that, because at the time, there were no tenants at all.
That you knew of?
There was no tenants at all. I've been dealing with this property from day one. The house, we purchased the house. Everybody was moved out when we went to go do an inspection. Electricity went sparking. I immediately cut the house off, called City Electric, applied for the permits, walked here myself, walked it in, was in contact with permitting. That's how we got the permit to rewire the house. Now, if they can't find the record, then I need a little bit of time to go through my records and find it. But I honestly thought that you would be able to find it.
Well, we found the application for the permit.
Yeah.
But it still shows in plan check, which means it was never issued.
I literally got a permit in
And
my hand.
I'm confused too as to how Duke set a meter without
Yeah.
an approved inspection, because they normally require that.
Does this affect the non-compliance that's now in compliance?
I would say yes, because they applied for a permit to do work. They were, according to our records, they were never issued the permit, but the work was done anyway. I would say it's not in compliance because of that, because we haven't done
But
any
they're in
inspections.
compliance now, right?
Well, for as far as there being nobody in the house.
Okay, for nobody in the house. So do we want to just, I mean, we have a couple options here. We could continue this to find out that information if that's necessary, or we could go forward with just the other violation and not this one. It's really up to what you guys want to do.
I would say go forward with them being in compliance with the tenants being out, and then we will obviously, and if he can come and produce the permit, but we're gonna be
Yeah.
in touch with you anyway. for
Yeah,
when we're
I've been
going
calling you. So, and I was trying to get a hold with somebody here. So, as far as that, on the tenant side, they weren't even supposed to be tenants. They were supposed to be doing work for us. They illegally hooked from the temp pole into the house. And when we went to go get them out, that's when they called code enforcement and everything. And
But you just testified that they illegally put a temp.
no, man.
Jumped it.
They jumped it.
Okay.
They jumped it from the pole that Duke put in, from the permit. We had them go there to do work, they jumped it. So there's a whole mix-up. They were supposed to be there, not there. The part after they got in was all through my wife. I was already working on another project, so,
Not relevant to this one.
correct.
But without any documentation, we have to take the city's word that there wasn't a permit at that time.
Well, I would
the
like,
city's saying that they're not going forward on that particular issue right
That's
now.
right.
The sole issue that we're going forward on is that there were tenants that were occupying it that you subsequently were able to remove. So
Yes.
there was a violation, and that violation has been corrected. So the
Yes.
only real issue, unless there's an argument that I haven't heard, is that there was a violation, it was corrected prior, and that there will be no fine implemented on that. So that would be the only issue we would hear on this case, unless there's some other argument that I'm missing.
I have one question. Is there still a temporary pole out there that's energized?
No, it is not. The wire's been rolled back.
Okay.
And I haven't moved the pole because no work's supposed to be done. So I haven't. The pole will be moved as soon as they say, hey, go ahead and take the pole out.
They're complying on everything. It's just the thing that happened when they weren't aware, but that's been complied with. So that's the only order the city's looking for.
So we need to find them in violation and
That
now
they were in
complied.
violation but have
Have now
complied with,
complied.
and that there is no fine to be implemented.
Got
I move that in case 24-800000148, that the respondents are now in compliance and that no fine is required.
But don't we have to find them
Oh,
non-compliant?
you have to
before
say
we
that they
find them
weren't in compliance?
They weren't, yeah.
They just have to say that there was a violation and that it's been complied with.
Yeah. I find that there was a violation and that the violation has been complied.
That would be IMPC 604.1, yes.
Is that the one that's, that code that's
604.1,
there?
is that
the
one
Yes.
correct violation to cite?
Yes.
Okay,
We want to cite the correct violation.
okay, let's start again. All right, I move in the case 24-800000148 that respondents were in violation of IPMC 604.1 but are now in compliance.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Bobby, roll call, please.
Mr. Ogle,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer,
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mr. Studio,
Aye.
Ms. Wade.
Yes.
Carries.
He's going to summarize just what we've done for today.
Right. So the only violation that the board heard today was the one where there were prior tenants that you removed, and so that's been corrected. So there's, as long as you don't have tenants in there again improperly, you're fine. And the other issue, you're going to work with the city on, and
Yes.
and we'll get those permit and see what's going on with that.
Yes.
So you're good. There's nothing else on that case.
And now we're going to let you stay there because we've got the next case
Yeah,
for you.
I just have one thing. On 539, I did apply for a permit and it's in pending mode. I just uploaded everything today to finish out the rest of the, whatever they lied about that they said we were doing, that we weren't doing anything because it was cosmetic-y, painting, cleaning of the yard, switching up some toilets and stuff like that. So that permit is already in for.
Okay.
Okay,
Just keep the city,
absolutely. I've been in contact already and I've been dealing with permitting also.
and Eddie's going to stay with us because case number 4 is 24-000000001 Hope Street. And there are 3 violations cited for that, and the city will present their case.
All right, again, my name is Mike Rolliston. I'm the Code Enforcement Officer for the Tarpon Springs Police Department. This property, 319 Hope Street, is not homesteaded, and I became aware of this just a couple of days after the situation on Grand. The property is owned by the same Mantex Partners LLC. When we were researching the property owners, that's how we became aware of this property. And when I went by the house, I noticed a large orange sticker similar to the city's red tag notice. It was from Pinellas County. So I got out, started looking around and noticed there was several unpermitted works going on the property. So again, I contacted Deputy Building Official Keith Mead, and we issued a stop work order on the property. And do you have any objection to our evidence being
No, I
submitted?
do not. No, I do not.
So you'll see our stop work order right above the county's that was issued prior to ours. And then these are pictures from outside through the window where you can see some various remodeling going on. And Keith is also going to come up here in a moment and explain there was some, what'd you call them, rafters removed or
Ceiling joists.
ceiling joists?
Yeah, actually, this particular structure here has been altered quite a bit. If you can look up at the very top, you see a square in the wall. That's actually an attic vent, but they have removed the attic. There used to be ceiling joists running all the way across the entire house. They've cut them all out. And to, I guess, give it the vaulted ceiling, that's affecting the structural integrity of the house, no doubt, because this thing was built in the 20s, I believe, and it's just a wood frame house. And by removing that portion of the framing, yes, it has jeopardized the house. And there's also a new sliding glass door installed. There was mechanical, electrical, plumbing work, all of that, and none of it was permitted. They've only had, I believe, one permit on that property, and it was a tree permit several years ago. So,
And I've tried to reach out to the county investigator just to get any info from him. And other than introductions, we haven't been able to catch one another since then. So I'm not entirely sure where the county is with their proceedings, but it really doesn't have any bearing on the cities.
So somebody reported it to the county rather than the city?
I'm not aware of how the county became aware of it.
They called a tenant that couldn't get out or wouldn't get out. They called the
We'll give
county.
you a minute and then you get
Oh,
to
I'm
ask.
sorry.
The next stage, you get to ask him questions and then you get to present your case.
Sorry
Go
about
ahead.
that.
That's all right.
Okay.
You have any questions for me?
No, I don't have, I just have, so, not for you, but I just present. So on this property, we purchased it. And when we purchased the house, we did renew, we did do cabinets, drywall. There was a bunch of old work, but when we went in there, it just fell apart. So we didn't remove anything from the top and all that stuff. There was a middle wall that fell out that wasn't structural. It was just dividing. They had already did it. So we didn't remove anything or do anything. The panel was new. The plumbing was new. We did do, as the permit that I applied for says, we did countertops, retile the bathrooms, replace vanities, toilets, interior and exterior minor drywall painting, patching, and we did the plug and play mini splits where you don't need electrical. So all that was new, and I have videos and pictures of when we purchased the place.
So you're saying that you already had new electrical and new stuff?
No,
you
when we
bought?
purchased the place, the plumbing, whatever electrical was existing and all that, that was already there in place. There's a detachment to the dwelling, and everything that was there was in place. We did switch plugs and switches and all that, but we didn't run no new wires or knock anything down or anything. There were some interior non-bearing walls that were there that were already termite eaten up from the interior, but structural wise, we didn't touch no structural wise, and we did do the sliding door. But again, I have pictures and videos of the work that we did for the sliding door.
And a permit's not required for that?
Yes.
You still need a permit
Yes,
for a sliding
and the
door.
permits are also in place for 319 with a Celtic Renovations general contractor. It's in permitting, and I have them right here if you want to look at it, and it's notarized. Yeah, here's 319, and then here's all the general contractors.
Requesting these documents be submitted as evidence?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Would you let us look at them and I'll decide if they can be, please?
And if you look at the email that sent today. It's in pending status for the permits. It's Chris, who I've been talking with in the permitting office.
This application doesn't list a contractor. Who's the contractor?
Celtic Renovations, you see, he has it in his hand.
It's not on the application?
Yeah, turn it over. Second page. Second page. There's it already submitted with the notary of public and put in. If you look on the second page where it says contractor, down at the bottom on the permitting, it says contractor company name, Celtic Renovation Services LLC. After the address and description of work, contractor. On a little small paper, I believe.
Well, I'm looking at our permit application. It's supposed to be
Correct.
filled out. The line that says contractor, it's blank.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He can come back to you. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, but that's one. But if you look down, it's the address and it's on this one and it's on a permit. You can see, I apologize for that. It's the same contractor, Celtic Renovations. And it's in on the portal, on the county portal for permits. I apologize.
Yeah, that's a business tax receipt. That doesn't count. Okay.
All the licenses are there. You have them? Okay.
Well, I have the license of the general contractor.
He has it. He has all the licensing right there.
Okay, this is the general contractor.
Yes, sir.
Okay, general contractors can't do plumbing, mechanical, or electrical work.
Correct. I understand that. But
All of which were done on that house.
reverting back, I would like to contest because I got videos that was existing. And again, we can go back. We did not touch any of that. All we did was where I said there were some places that were bad. We took it out of there. It was existing.
All the electrical on that house right now as it stands was existing when you purchased it.
No,
We're getting a little bit of mixed testimony here, you
I
realize.
understand. I understand. So I'm here to answer his questions for him. Very true and very knowledgeable.
Okay, if the electrical was not on there when you purchased the house, how did it get there?
No, the house came with, it had electrical. When we purchased the house, the plumbing was new and the electrical was new. We did not touch anything there. It was existing how it was. The only thing that we touched was plugs and switches and the boxes for right off of the main air conditioning to run mini splits.
Okay, so you ran electrical for mini
I was
splits.
gonna ask you, permits.
Yes. And the new panel to the back that was already there, but it looked like it was water written and rotten. And we just dug
Sir,
up and checked.
If all this plumbing and stuff work was done, there would be a permit on file with the city.
I
And
understand that, but it
Since there isn't,
wasn't.
that means the unpermitted work was done. You now bought unpermitted work and need to fix
Absolutely,
it.
I understand that. Yep, I know that. I would, yes, but I'm trying to say that we didn't do that. It was purchased that way. All we did, like I said, was check some areas and run a couple junction boxes, which we were not aware that we couldn't do when it was already existing air conditioning.
But you still, now you understand you've
I
now
do clearly. Yes,
inherited
once you
the
once you
problem.
buy the property, you inherit the issues of the property. We've been buying properties
So
for many.
just so we're clear, you didn't do any of that, but you recognize when you purchased the property, you've now found out that the permits were not.
Absolutely, 100%, yes. The work we did was, we were under the impression that it was not permitting floors, cabinets, things like that. So I'm admitting that the actual AC work, we jumped a wire completely off of the already existing AC to run mini splits because the other unit was blown.
But you need
And for
permits
that,
to
would
run
there be a
many stores.
permit needed?
So the
Yes.
city's position essentially is the
Yes,
exact
no,
same.
I understand, but I don't want to come into the board thinking that we did all this unpermitted work and went in there.
I think what you look at is the comments help you in determining how much time you provide for correcting those issues. He purchased it, he thought that those things were permitted, he found out that they aren't, he's not claiming that they are, but it's going to take a period of time now to go through all those things, and I think that's for the board to consider how he got into this situation.
Yes. And I was trying to get a hold, of, what's his name? I'm sorry.
Keith,
I was trying to get a hold of Keith to do a walkthrough prior to coming here, but they was telling me to just put in the permits and then go from there. Because you remember I called you, Mr. Ronaldson?
yes, we've talked.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay.
So the question then becomes, how much time?
And Keith, what do you think is an appropriate time for this project?
Well, before I answer that, I would say that I would require a walkthrough with somebody from the building department, probably myself, to view all the work that may or may not have been done, to verify, and then we can, because we're going to base the permit application on what is required, and we don't know until we get inside and see everything that may or may not have been done recently.
So would it be fair to say then that the board could consider that there is a violation and that we can reset this for purposes of determining how much time will be necessary?
That would be fair if we could give me an opportunity to do an inspection, a full inspection of this property, and then next month's board hearing present.
So at least Mike could have that information. So
So we're gonna,
find a violation.
For
and-
today,
and just
and in a
we will
month-
wait on the compliance date till next month. And then they can work out how much time they need.
So just for my edification, the walkthrough that you're going to coordinate is to look at the mechanical, electrical, structural for that.
scope of the work.
Correct, to do
Okay.
a thorough inspection, on-site inspection to determine the scope of work that's going to be required for,
Right.
on the permit,
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
That works.
Okay? It's a slightly different motion. You're just finding a violation, and then we will continue it to your next meeting for determination of appropriate time for compliance.
I find in case 24-000000001 that the Mantex Partners LLC were in violation of 212 building permits and 105.1 building code, but are now,
You-
we're pending that until the next visit
Yes,
where we're going to determine time.
yes.
Second.
Did you second?
She seconded.
Thank you. Bobby, roll call, please.
Mr. Ogle,
Yes.
Mrs. Archer,
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar.
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Mr. Furio,
Aye.
Ms. Wade.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Eddie, he's going to summarize this for you.
Okay.
But we always have concerns, and we want to see some motion to make this a safe place, and that's what he's going to talk about.
Please, as you know, please work with the city.
Absolutely.
With the understanding that you had purchased the property, you thought some things had been permitted, you subsequently have found out that they were not. So the board has found the violation, and they're going to wait as to an appropriate compliance date until the next meeting after the walkthrough has gone through, and maybe even you guys can discuss and agree on an appropriate time period and bring that back to the board, and then they'll just add that at their next meeting.
Yes, that's absolutely, that's all I wanted. Thank you.
Thank you. We get to turn all the way to the end. Before we finish our meeting today, does the board or the staff have anything they would like to bring up? I had one thing, we all received a note from our city manager reminding us about sunshine law. I want to commend this board. I don't think I've ever even sniffed anything inappropriate. No one has used their devices other than to confirm if somebody wasn't coming. And I want to continue that procedure, and thank you all for being so careful about that. And the other thing is, we were hoping to get a little training on this new app. We're going to do that in the future so that we can pull up the backup documents and be real prepared when we come into our meetings. Thank you for getting it all straight for us.
We're trying.
That's all I had. Anybody else? Seeing that there's no other business before the board, the meeting is adjourned.
Remember years ago, though, they used to be a lot longer. Remember when they were about 5? Do something after Thanksgiving. Have to cancel because.
So we can take, absolutely.